Hello and good evening. Yolanda will be joining us shortly. You can see we're all set up. Not like last week. Last week was a little bit, we weren't ready. Oh dear. So who's going to be first to join us? Hey, Kelly, my lovely, how are you? Hope you're well, sweets. Hope you're ready for tonight's stories. I'm sick again. Oh, bless you, Kelly. Sending you loads of healing, my lovely. I hope you feel a bit better soon. I hope it's not the long COVID that you've got, Kelly. Michelle, good evening. Hello, I made it. I can't laugh. Hey, Lisa, hope you're well, my lovely. I'm not allowed to laugh because kids have gone to bed. And if I laugh, oh, look, she's here. Look, she's graced us with the presence. At last, I'm only messing Yo-Yo. So I'm going to be leaving the screen. And when Yo-Yo's ready for me to come back, so don't, Yo-Yo, read until you wait till you're ready. And then just say, Lindsay, can you pop back in? And then I know to come in, and I'm not just going to jump in the middle of a story because I don't know what's happening.
Okay, what we're looking at, about an hour roughly?
It's entirely up to you. An hour, it's up to you where you feel on book. Okay. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Lakeshore Paranormal. Hope you're well, my lovely. Can you see everybody, Yo-Yo?
Michelle, hello.
Hey, Patricia. Right, so I'm going to leave the screen and I'm just going to put Yo-Yo back on. So I'm going to do that. See you later.
I'm hoping I can see comments. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all surviving in this horrible weather. It's ghastly, isn't it? Sheffield's got some storms bad and it's windy everywhere. I hope you're doing all right. We're going to be continuing on the ghosts and legends and the history of Yorkshire. So I hope I don't insult the northern accent like I did last. It's Ilkley Moor, like I did last time. My pronunciation might not be too clever. Hello, Claire. Is that Claire I saw? Yeah, there she is. My comments aren't going up. There, that's better. There. So, we shall begin, shall we? Right, Ilkley Moor. Ancient man used Ilkley Moor as a place on which both to live and worship, and it is littered with relics of his passing, from the remains of Bronze Age field systems to the undeciphered cup and ring carvings. On the summit of the moor, alongside the prehistoric Rombold's Way track, is the 12 Apostle stone circles, actually consisting of 13 stones. The name was superimposed on the circle to disguise its pagan origins, and legend says it is impossible to count the stones correctly at the first attempt. From here, the wild hunt, dead souls led by the devil were said to fly out across the moortops in search of victims, and fairies have also been witnessed at the circle. More recently, UFOs have been seen at the 12 Apostles, and in the summer of 1976, members of the Royal Observer Corps engaged on manoeuvres witnessed a bright white object float over the moor and hover above the circle. Ufologists have noted the frequent connection between sacred site and UFO manifestations, and this, together with the proximity of UFOs and spook lights to geological fault lines, has made Ilkley Moor a focus of UFO activity and interest for many years. UFOs have also frequently been sighted at the Cow and Calf rocks in the form of small balls of orange light. Perhaps the best sighting of this nature took place on the 26th of September 1982, when some Ilkley women saw a bright light glow above the rocks caused by the descent of two luminous balls of light, which hovered for a time before descending behind the rock outcrop. The name Ilkley Moor is of recent origin, and old maps usually refer to it as Rombold's Moor. In Norman times, Robert de Rommel owned the area, and some scholars attribute the name to him, while others are equally convinced that the name arose from the pious Christian martyr Saint Rombold, who died in AD 775. But folklorists are far more inclined to believe the name stems from the ancient legend of Rombold, the stone-throwing giant. That the old inhabitants of Ilkley Moor held stones to be of great significance and worthy of worship is evident in many of the moor's landscape legends. Long before man, the giant Rombold and his wife lived there, peacefully until they had an argument which led to Rombold storming off across the valley to Almscliff Crag. Enraged by this untimely departure, his wife gathered stones in her aprons to hurl at him. But the strings broke under the weight and the stones fell, forming great and little skirtful of stones. In fact, these piles of stones are Bronze Age burial barrows, and E.T. Cowling, author of Rombold's Way, speculated that this legend, one of many similar ones throughout Yorkshire, is a record that these two barrows were made at a time when worship of the mother goddess was gaining ascendancy over that of the sun god during Middle Bronze Age times. Perhaps it was sun worship which led the unknown carvers to chip out the famous swastika stone on the east side of the moor above Heber's Gill. The swastika stone can be seen as a symbol of all that is mysterious and strange about the moor, and in his book, Brigantia, Guy Ragland Phillips says of the carving, "Nobody could mistake it for anything other than a religious symbol. Within that limit, various interpretations have been put on it. Fire or the sun are favourites, but nobody knows. The motive is not primitive, but full of power." The giant Rombold left other landmarks on the moors too. According to legend, the Cow and Calf rocks were once one huge rock, until Rombold split them in one of his great strides to Almscliff Crag. The rock basins on Almscliff are said to be the footprints he made as a result of these leaps. The Cow and Calf rocks were originally attended by the Bull, a rock as big as a cottage which has long since been broken into stones for roads and local buildings. Just as they are now a magnet for picnickers, walkers and climbers, the Cow and Calf rocks have attracted many legends over the years. The name suggests that this may even have once been a site for prehistoric religious ceremonies, as both cows and bulls were favourite objects of sacrifice amongst the Celtic peoples. And the tops of the nearby Hanningstones rocks are covered with some of the finest and most enigmatic cup and ring markings in the region. Part of Hanningstones rock is named the Fairy Parlor, due to the belief that fairies occupied a hole in the rocks here. Author Nicholas Size found Ilkley Moor to be such a powerful place that he experienced time slips here. On one occasion, Size felt strangely compelled to visit the Cow and Calf rocks, where he went into a trance-like state and could see ghostly figures dancing around the fire. These figures were dressed in animal skin cloaks and were enacting some kind of sacrificial ceremony. Size was convinced that this was a vision of a ritual conducted here thousands of years ago, and he began to call the Cow and Calf rocks the place of horror. Stranger still was the fact that Size saw the Cow and Calf rocks as one large rock, which, as stated earlier, may formerly have been the case. In a further experience with ghosts on the moor, Size again found himself watching a sacrifice. "You are not real," he cried out to the swirling figures as he tried to escape, but he was rooted to the spot, his mind in a whirl and his limbs controlled by forces beyond his comprehension. He wrote, "My hands and feet seemed to be fastened in some way, and I was hauled and lifted hither and thither by hands which were irresistible. Eventually he was able to tear himself free from the grip of the past, but afterwards felt as though he had been granted a vision of something he should not have witnessed, and that something had been implanted in his head by the power which was drawing him on." Whitewell stands out clearly above Ilkley on the hillside and is easily reached from Wells Road. Once used as a bathhouse in the days when Ilkley was a celebrated spa resort, the building is now a small tea room and museum. Inside, water still gushes into one of the old plunge baths from an ancient Roman Celtic stone head. When Size visited this spot, he was filled with terror, feeling as though he should run from the area, although he didn't know why. The area of land to the east of Whitewells was once known as the Fairies House, or the Fairies Kirk, and the Little People play a strong part in Whitewell's past history. It was said that in Saxon times a church was commissioned to be built on the site of the Fairies Kirk, no doubt to quell vestiges of pagan belief at the location. But despite repeated attempts, the power of the fairies was too much for the Christian incomers, and the builders found their construction materials were magically transported back into the valley so many times that they eventually gave up the struggle and left the Whitewells area to its outworldly denizens. The fairies were still there in the 19th century as keeper of the wells. William Butterfield found out. One morning, instead of turning and unlocking the door as usual, his key seemed to be made of rubber, turning and turning with no effect. Withdrawing it to see if it was broken, or if he had picked up the wrong key by mistake, he noted that it was the same that he had on the previous night hung up behind his own door at home. And I'm really sorry if you can hear that barking. Rob's just letting Charlie out at the front, and he's making a bit of a palaver. I do apologise. I hope you can't hear it too much. So, abandoning the key altogether, he tried to push the door open, but only succeeded in having it repeatedly slammed shut by something inside the building. Eventually, he forced the door open, to be greeted by a sight which few mortal men have ever seen. His experience was described in the folklore record for 1878, and it says, "Then whir, such a noise and sight. All over the water and dipping into it, it was a lot of little creatures, all dressed in green from head to foot, none of them more than 18 inches high, and making a chatter and jabber thoroughly unintelligible. They seemed to be taking a bath, only they bathed with their clothes on. Finding they were all making ready for decamping, and wanting to have a word with them, Butterfield shouted at the top of his voice. Indeed, he declared afterwards, he couldn't find anything else to say or do. Hello there!" Then away the whole tribe went, helter-skelter, toppling and tumbling, head over heels, and all the while making a noise not unlike a disturbed nest of young partridges. These days, people rarely see fairies, but strange creatures from time and space still haunt the moor area in a different guise. Just above Whitewells is a series of old stone quarries, where in December 1987, an ex-policeman had a classic close encounter of the fourth kind, the term used by ufologists to denote the abduction of a human being by UFO occupants. While taking an early morning walk across the moor to visit his father in Morton, Philip Shaw was climbing the hill above Whitewells when he heard a faint humming sound, and in the quarry entrance saw what I can only describe as a small green creature moving quickly away. Luckily, he managed to take a photograph of the creature before it disappeared into a small hollow. Philip followed, and as he rounded the corner, he saw a flying saucer nestling in the bottom of a crater. He described it later as being like two silver saucers stuck together, edge to edge, with some sort of box sticking out of the top of the object that was descending into it. While he stood amazed, the humming increased and the UFO lifted off, vanishing before he could take another shot. When he returned to Ilkley, he found that a period of almost 2 hours had been lost, and later inquiries by a UFO investigation group led to his undergoing hypnotic regression, from which a story emerged about what apparently took place in the 2 hours of missing time. It seems that Philip had been taken on board the UFO and out into space and back, and that the photograph had been taken after he had disembarked from the craft. The film was developed, and among shots of local buildings and landscapes was a photograph of a small green figure in the quarry. In this indisputable evidence of aliens from outer space, it may be, as all photographic analysis of the alien picture has suggested that it is a genuine humanoid figure on the film, and a hoax has been ruled out. A long-standing tradition in the Ilkley area spoke of a lost stone circle in the area between White Wells and the Cow and Calf Rocks. Although archaeologists had dismissed the idea as fanciful, in 1885 the Reverend Robert Collier wrote, "There was still a rude circle of rocks on the reach behind the old White Wells 50 years ago, tumbled into such confusion that you had to look once and again before you saw what lay under your eyes. The stones were very large, and there was no trace of line about them, and this may have been a rude outpost of the tribe for the defence of the great living spring, and also of Ilkley lying below." The circle was finally rediscovered when local man Nigel Mortimer located it at the head of Backstone Beck near an ancient sheepfold. What makes this discovery remarkable is that he found the site by using a dowsing technique, as in water divining. Where archaeologists with modern equipment had failed, it seemed that an innate human sense had succeeded. Still more remarkable is the series of apparitions that Paul Bennett and Andy Tyson witnessed at the Backstone Circle. In an experience similar to that of Nicholas Size, of which they knew nothing, the two men saw people walking in and out of the stones in a winding ceremonial fashion. The ghostly celebrants speeded up their dance until they were a blur and could not be seen, a cone of energy forming in their place. This spinning vortex vanished, to be replaced by flickering bands of light on and around the standing stones. The event lasted over 30 minutes and was followed by mysterious temperature fluctuations to as low as -10 degrees centigrade. Sudden drops of temperature are often reported with other types of ghostly phenomena, but rarely so low and almost never in the month of July. The Backstone Circle was finally recognised by archaeologists and awaits excavation. Not everyone is afraid of ghosts. That is, until they see one. Walker Philip Saville was nearing Ilkley on a dark and damp afternoon in the 1930s, when he had a memorable encounter. Having joined the road which skirts the eastern edge of the moor, Mr. Saville came across a large black dog sitting in the middle of the road. As he walked towards the creature, snapping his fingers and attempting to entice the dog to him, a strange thing took place. In his words, "The dog just disappeared. It neither walked away nor ran. It vanished." The effect of this ghostly dog was instantaneous. I shall never forget the terror which came over me. I went all over goose lumps. I snatched my cap from off my head and ran, never slackening speed, until I got into Hawksworth village, where I almost ran into four ladies who were standing talking just around the corner by the graveyard. I don't know what I said, but I felt I must talk. I was scared. This experience could perhaps be rationalized as the imaginings of a bored or wandering mind, were it not for the fact that others have come forward with similar stories of the ghost dog of the moor. Oh dear. Gytrash, as the hound is known locally, so Gytrash, Gytrash, as the hound is known locally, has been seen many times on that particular stretch of road, and farmers often warned ramblers to be on the lookout for the creature. Locals took Gytrash very seriously and regarded it as a type of boggart. In nearby Yeadonstown, Yeadon is Yeadons. In nearby Yeadonstown Brook, there are actually records of sum of money being paid out for boggart catching. It should come as no surprise that such an expansive wilderness as Ilkley Moor attracts strange characters to it, or that the elemental nature of the place should lead to their developing superhuman powers of perception. The most famous of these moorland hermits was wise Robin of Rombold's Moor. Renowned throughout the area as something of a wizard and latter-day shaman, Robin was held in awe by locals and frequently consulted on such topics as the weather, childbirths, and the future generally. His speciality was lost or stolen goods, and his prowess at seeing into the future in such matters was confirmed in 1790, when the Kendal carrier was robbed near Keighley. The carrier's owner consulted Robin as to the consequences if the goods were not returned. He retired to the moor for silent communion with his muse, and then returned with a statement. If the goods are not returned by Lady Day, the thieves will be sorry. The goods failed to be returned, and the local inhabitants, mindful of Robin's previous successes, prepared for the worst. Children, pets, and livestock were kept indoors and all buildings secured. Weighted stones were even thrown over the roofs of some houses and farmsteads. On the 25th of March, Lady Day, a terrible storm ripped through the area, causing great damage. Whether or not the thieves were affected by it, we are not told, but to the locals it was yet further proof of wise Robin of Rombold Moor's efficacy. I can't pronounce the word. Efficacy. Finally, of all the mysteries which remain concerning Ilkley Moor, one offers the chance to discover a real physical treasure. A mixture of known history and legendary speculation tells of a sword once owned by Hakon, the foster son of King Athelstan, who had close connections with Bingley on the western side of the moor. This sword was one of many magical swords said to exist in those times, and according to one chronicler of Old Bingley, the blade was of such strength that Hakon was able to cleave a quern to the centre eye. This sword was hidden on Ilkley Moor sometime in the Dark Ages and still awaits discovery by some lucky explorer. So that's that part. I hope you enjoyed that. We've got the next part. How is everybody? Charles, hello Charles. And I do apologise about noise disturbance with the dog, but I think hopefully it will all calm down now. Thank you, Lindsay. Is that you, Lindsay, there under Exploring the Afterlife? So now it's the Yorkshire Dales. And I haven't read this part. I read the first part and I still struggled with some of the words. So I'll carry on reading, and I again apologise in advance for any mispronunciation. Of the Dales, Halliwell, Sutcliffe wrote, "There's not a moor road or a field path but is beset by its own haunting. It is not just the Maid and parts either, for the entire Dales area has a parallel world, a subterranean maze of caves, potholes and abandoned mines, all equally, if not more haunted than the surface." In his 1781 book, A Tour of the Caves, the Reverend John Hotton described the caves of Wharfdale as being the homes of giants, goblins and fairies, and for miners, the workings beneath the moors at Greenhow above Pateley Bridge were home to every conceivable manifestation of subterranean horror. Something perhaps the earth spirit herself did not want the lead removed from the ground, and miners had to fight both natural and supernatural forces for every gram of it. When Greenhow miners found a colleague lying dead in a gallery with unnatural marks on his throat, they were unsympathetic, as it was common knowledge that to work alone was to invite trouble from the trolls who roamed the empty chambers. A group of men killed in one mine collapse became bound in the shafts in which they perished, and their spirits, known as the ghostly shift, warned others on more than one occasion to vacate the workings just before a rockfall took place. Later generations of miners came to the area from Cornwall and added their own pantheon of spirits to those already inhabiting the mines. Among these were the Knockers, a noisy subterranean race of goblins whose mission was to aid miners by knocking loudly whenever the miners were nearing a rich seam, or, confusingly, to warn of impending danger. Life was hard enough working long hours beneath the ground without the need to contend with duplicitous spirits. To counteract these supernatural forces, the miners took protective devices into the mines with them. Naturally holed stones, known as dobby stones, were highly sought after, and if hung in the galleries or around the neck, they were sure to offer protection against the workings of evil. Buildings on the surface were festooned with horseshoes, and trees, such as the mountain ash or rowan, were planted at mine heads to give protection against witchcraft. These talismans can be seen today in any village in the Dales, and many houses still have a water-worn dobby stone outside or a rowan tree in the garden. The Norse tradition gave Troller's Gill at Appletree Wick its name, but the troll left the chasm a long time ago to be replaced by Ghost Hog or Barguest. The Barguest was encountered one night by a travelling cobbler who recalled that he looked as big as a littleish bear. The ghost passed so close to his hiding place that the terrified man could see the creature was yellow with great eyes like saucers. He had a shaggy sort of smell as he went by, and I counted myself for dead. But he chanced not to glimpse me, praise all the saints that ever were. The Barguest was more successful on other occasions. An Appletree Wick man was found dead after traversing the gorge at night, and an 1881 source records that marks were found impressed on the dead man's breast, but they seemed not by mortal hand. Traveller Edmund Bogg recorded another foolhardy victim of Troller's Gill. John Lambert, who was proudly a sceptic as far as the Barguest was concerned, armed only with a stick, he went after the creature and was found dead the next morning. Tales still told in the Dales carry with them the last vestiges of belief in the power of certain locations to heal the mind and body of almost any ill. Holy wells are still used in this way. Beneath Grassington Bridge at Thresfield, there is a spring of fresh water called Our Lady's Well, the name being a Christianization of a well formerly dedicated to the earth goddess. Its waters were famous for their curative properties and are still used to treat skin and eye complaints. The well was also used as a sanctuary from evil, and a Gerston man took refuge here one night after being confronted with Pam the Fiddler, a notorious Thresfield ghost. He stood in the holy water all night as the ghost stalked round him, waiting for him either to make a run for it or to lose strength. But the man, a tinker by trade, stuck it out until the ghost faded away with the dawn. Relieved but certain he would die of exposure, he found that far from debilitating him, the nights spent in the well's freezing water had completely rejuvenated him. Perhaps here we see a story confused by time and retelling of the efficacy of these locations to heal and protect against decay and evil. Pam, the fiddler's ghost, was eventually dealt with in an amusing but ultimately ineffectual manner. Her main haunt was the school at Thresfield, where the rector often wrote his sermons. One evening, when he returned to retrieve some papers he had forgotten, Pam set upon him, resenting the intrusion into her lair. This was the final straw for the man of God, and he hatched a most unchristian plot to deal with her. He left an open bottle of brandy in the headmaster's study, returning later to find the ghost dead, drunk on the floor. Oh, how cute. Swiftly he killed her and buried the body in the school grounds, an act he was to regret eternally, as he should have known it is impossible to kill a ghost. Pam changed her affections from Thresfield to the rector and became his personal demon, following him wherever he went and haunting him until the end of his days. At one time, St Helen's Well near Thresfield was visited by pilgrims from all over the north and was an ornate affair surrounded by a low retaining wall complete with carvings and an adjacent chapel for prayer and meditation. It is now ruined, but is still an evocative place to visit and spend time at. Its ancient origins can still be found with patience. Guy Ragland Phillips advises, bend double beside the pool and feel the big stones that stand underwater at the junction of the curbstones, and you will find that they are carved stone heads. Whatever rituals were once practiced here are now lost to memory, but survive in the local traditions of tying ribbons to the well bushes and casting penny for wishes. There may have been a darker side to this well, as people still remember when it was considered reckless to walk past it on the evening of the 24th of June, the old date of Midsummer's Day. The Ebbing and Flowing Well at the side of the old A65 road out of Settle has its legends too. Don't know this word. Naiad, N-A-I-A-D. Another name for a wood spirit, fleeing to escape the unwanted attentions of another, more ardent sprite, begged for higher intervention to save her virtue. As she lay in the forest, camouflaged in the leaves, but with her heart pounding in fear, she was transformed into a bubbling spring. All that remained of her previous existence was the beating of her heart, reflected in the ebbing and flowing of the water. The Ebbing and Flowing Well is featured in the Giggleswick Church dedicated to St Alkeld, where a stained glassed window depicts sacrifices being made to the well. This is no simple legend either. In 1890, the water flow was carefully measured and was found to fill and empty every 3.5 minutes or so. Sadly, quarrying work during the Second World War all but ruined the water pulse, but the well and its name remains. North of Skipton, there is an old lane between Cracoe, C-R-A-C-O-E, and Rylestone Church, running parallel to the B6265, which is home to a bar guest. It is still remembered, and when the author was investigating UFO sightings in the area in the early 1980s, local folk inquired if he was looking for the ghost dog. We still see it, you know. Rylestone Fell has a long history of will-o'-the-wisp sightings, which in the middle years of this century turned into UFO reports. A strip of almost luminescent rock, which can be seen high on the fell, was mistaken by 2 policemen for a UFO hovering above the moors. This resulted in hundreds of UFO spotters flocking to the area and a television appearance for the rock. Witnesses claimed they had seen the Cracoe, C-R-A-C-O-E, UFO in the air until it was revealed that the photographs depicted only a natural phenomenon. These modern cases, where natural phenomenon have been proved to be the stimulus for ghost and UFO reports, may give some insight into the powers of the human mind to create mystery from everyday life. This in no way diminishes first-hand experiences of these wonders, but can prevent us from sliding back into the superstitious practices of old. A cave in El Bolton Hill was discovered years ago to contain prehistoric relics and bones, which at the time of discovery were thought to be the remains of fairies, adding to the traditions already strong in the area. Even the name of the hill is suggestive of the denizens of fairylands being derived from Elf Bolt, the name given to the Neolithic arrowheads once thought to belong to the fairies. This assumption may not be far from the truth if fairy stories are, as many theorists suggest, folk memories of the Neolithic people who fled to the hills and caves when the Bronze Age folk became dominant in the British Isles. Whatever their origin, the fairies lived on at Elbolton and wreaked their mischief on humans throughout the centuries. Daniel Wadilov was one mortal who fell prey to their enchantments while wandering on Elbolton Hill. Excuse me. For some reason, he was in dispute with the fairy inhabitants, and the fairy queen of the hill let the spirit Puck loose on him, with the result that Daniel was led astray all night, with will-o'-the-wisp lights taking him from one bog to another. Eventually, tiring of his sport, the queen summoned Daniel and, offering her hands to be kissed, said, "Mock us no more and go free." Daniel was overawed and agreed. In telling the tale later, he said of the fairy queen, "She had a voice like a Lyle silver trumpet, and I wish I could hear it again." On the eastern side of Elbolton, near Thorpe, a doctor once encountered a tribe of fairies celebrating, and he attempted to join them by breaking into their ring of enchantment. Once their dance was broken by mortal interference, they reacted wildly, throwing the doctor around in a whirl, pinching and punching him before they fled. In the confusion, he managed to catch a fairy, slipping it in his pocket, thinking that when he reached town, this would be positive proof of their existence. But by the time he reached Krakow, he was ready to amaze the world with his find. The magic had trickled away, and all he had in his pocket was dust. Ralph Calvert, a shoemaker from Thorpe, had a chance meeting with the Prince of Darkness while walking back from Fountains Abbey, where he had delivered shoes. In a gorge near Pateley Bridge, he encountered a casually dressed stranger who invited him to share a picnic. It was the devil, in disguise and full of charm, until he finally revealed himself with a flourish and demanded the man's soul. Ralph was unimpressed by this show and at first refused to believe him, suspecting his satanic majesty, due to the lack of the traditional horns and tail, of being an affect southerner up to some stupid tricks. Ralph issued a challenge, saying he would only admit the stranger was the devil if he demonstrated his powers by bridging the beck next to him where they were eating. Sure enough, the beck had a bridge. Within 3 days, a rare case of the devil being caught out by his own pride. Despite intrusions by Scot raiders, Bolton Abbey was home to thousands of Augustinian monks between the 12th and 16th centuries. And if we are to believe the accumulation of eyewitness testimonies, many of them never left, choosing to stay in the tranquil surroundings. Ghostly black-clad monks are frequently seen gliding through the grounds, usually on the path between the vicarage and the priory. There was a spate of sightings earlier this century. The young Marquis of Hartington saw the transparent figure of a monk standing at his bedroom door while holidaying at the nearby rectory in 1912, and the ghost of Prior Moon, the last prior at Bolton Abbey before the dissolution of the monasteries by Henry VIII, is also bound to the ruins. His ghost has often been seen in the priory beneath a curious roof boss, described in Wallbrand's Guide to Ripon as being sagely conjectured by the country people to represent the devil. During excavations in 1973, archaeologists working on the tomb of John de Clifford were plagued by a series of hauntings and eerie experiences which they believed were connected with the curse of the Cliffords. In a Yorkshire Post article headed "Curse Ends Tomb Search," members of the team revealed how they had felt and seen the ghost of an Augustine monk at the location given by Wallbrand. Others had seen ghosts in their homes, and one man fell ill after working on the tomb. He told archaeologist David Clough that he was having no more to do with the tomb and said we could not use his tools. He had been ill with flu and believed his illness was due to the digging. He went on to say, I have had the curse of the Cliffords on me this last week. The man's wife also told Clough she had experienced a vision of something very black and evil at the mouth of the tomb. Clough himself encountered a mysterious force in the priory, something so very strong and very frightening that he had to leave the building before the feeling vanished. 2 miles upstream along the Wharf Valley is the Strid, a narrow gap in the rocks where the river is naturally compressed, boiling and seething as it forces itself down to the shallows at the priory. Some idea of the power involved here can be gained from the fact that the river is squeezed from a width of 15 to 1.5 metres wide in the space of only a couple of metres. Tradition says this is the site of the death of the Boy of Egremond, and many others have died here trying to jump to the other side, making the spot a fitting place for the ghostly white horse of Wharfdale, which emerges from the swirling pools at times to warn the observer of a coming death. Hobs were particularly common spirits in the Dales. The name Hob originates from Scandinavian settlers in the region and refers to a place spirit or genus loci. Hobs were usually disruptive but could occasionally be helpful, provided humans didn't meddle in their work. At Sturfit Hall near Reeth, the resident Hob was content to churn milk, attend to the fires, and so forth, until the mistress of the house left a new cloak and hat for him, in the mistaken belief he needed thanks for his work. The Hob took one look and said, "Ha, a cap and a hood. Hob'll never do mare good." The Hob which once dwelt at Close House Farm near Skipton was just as choosy. After years of faithful service, he was given a new red hood in gratitude, and promptly downed tools and left the farm for good. Hobs were also the guardians of moors and lonely stretches of road, and Hob lanes can still be located in the Dales today, showing how the belief has lasted. One such Hob was frequently seen on the road at Blea Moor, B-L-E-A, at Blea Moor between Newby Head and Gearstones. He had the alarming habit of rushing out from the shadows, leaping onto a passing cart, and riding for a while before disappearing again. Regular travellers on the road became used to him, and he was affectionately known as Lil Hob. Lil Hob seems in some way to have been watching over buried treasure, for when 3 Celtic arm bracelets were discovered on the moor near the Ribblehead Viaduct, he ceased to appear. These same moors also held the spirit of an army of men dressed in ragged clothing, often seen descending from the Wanside Fells into Dentdale. Up to 100 of these ghosts at a time had been sighted, and they were thought to be either phantoms of the band of Vikings which invaded this area in the Dark Ages, or, more likely, the ghostly remnants of the Scots moss troopers, which terrorised the north of England in the 14th century. Ghosts are sometimes so persistent that they cannot be lived with, nor will exorcism remove them. In these cases, it seems that some portion of a human soul has become not only earthbound, but placebound, unable to leave one particular spot. One such case existed in Upper Wensleydale near Apperset, where Rig House and Rig Cottage were once one big house owned by a man called Metcalfe. His reputation in the area was poor, as he had once been a slave trader, gaining the nickname Black Ripper. This reputation was further diminished when an elderly woman who lived with him vanished in mysterious circumstances, leading locals to suspect that Metcalfe was in some way responsible. This rumour was strengthened with the frequent appearance of her ghost, which eventually and fittingly drove Metcalfe away from the place. However, subsequent owners and inhabitants were also troubled by her, so much so that in an effort to lay the ghost once and for all, the middle section of the mansion, where she had lived and now haunted, excuse me, was demolished. This dramatic remedy must have been effective, as the legend says that the ghost faded into memory as quickly as the missing part of the house. Don't want to cough again. Gone. Strange ceremonies now seem simply as quaint folk traditions linger on in these northern dales. Their origins are now totally unknown, but are most likely connected with ancient rituals involving the cycle of the seasons, crop planting times and boundary markings. The numerous fowl races in the dales may once have been annual boundary observances, and even the many May and autumn fairs and Saint Day celebrations may well have their roots in an age where the year was split and marked by feasts and festivals, which, if missed or ignored, invited the displeasure of long-forgotten gods and goddesses. At the Wensleydale village of West Witton on the Saturday closest to the 24th of August, St. Bartholomew's Day, a curious activity takes place. When darkness has fallen, an effigy, similar to a bonfire guy and named Bartle, is ritually paraded around the village, accompanied by almost all the villagers. The figure is destroyed and renewed every year, except for the facial mask, which is stored with the local family traditionally responsible for the effigy's construction. Every now and then, the procession halts at a particular house or spot in the village, and this rhyme is chanted. On Penhill crags he tore his rags, at Hunter's Thorn he blew his horn, at Capel Bank Stee he brack his knee, at Grisgill Beck he brack his neck, at Wadlam's End he could not fend, at Greergill End we made his end, shout lads shout. The rhyme concludes with a resounding hip hip hooray, and on goes the procession to the next location. This ceremony, known as the Burning of Bartle, is a remnant of a folk ritual carried out in the area for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and is drawn deep from legendary sources. One account of the bizarre ceremony attributes it to folk memory of the chase and capture of a 16th century sheep thief, but folklorist Ian Taylor believes it is the acting out of a far older legend concerning a giant who once lived on nearby Pen Hill, who was slain by a ghostly wolfhound after terrorizing the village. Women in black haunt the area too, and a ghostly black-clad lady has often been seen walking the route from the gates of Coverham Church to a spot known as Courting Wall Corner on Middleham Moor. This particular ghost was so feared that local inhabitants would be wary of crossing the moor alone at night. She was once seen by 3 ladies who were driving a horse and trap across the moor, and thinking the figure was flesh and blood, asked her to open a gate for them. At this request, the apparition vanished, leaving the terrified women to ride home in silence. Her haunting, like so many others of the grey or black lady type, was claimed to be the result of a love triangle that went wrong, ending in a murder. The story may even have some basis in fact, as sometime in the 1940s, the body of a woman was discovered by peat cutters on the moor. Her clothes, what was left of them, were black. Coverdale now has a phantom light seen on the A684 road between the hamlets of Coldbur and West Scrafton. Coldbur is Caldbergh. The spook light appears to motorists as though a car were coming towards them down the narrow country lanes, and naturally they slow down to await its passing. Most are shocked that after a long wait no car passes them, the light merely remaining stationary until it vanishes. If the driver ignores the other car and drives straight towards it, the light simply disappears. The Pennine Light, as it is known, is most commonly seen in the long winter nights, and legend connects this vehicular will-o'-the-wisp with the ruins of St. Simon's Chapel, situated in the fields near where the light appears. Chantry Farm nearby is also the haunt of a grey lady ghost, which seems to be bound in some way to the staircase, where it is most often seen and more frequently heard. 15th century Napa Hall at Askrigg is yet another stately home, allegedly haunted by Mary Queen of Scots. She was once allowed to visit her friend Sir Christopher Metcalfe here during her time of incarceration at Bolton Castle, and so liked the hospitality that she returned as a ghost following her execution. One account of this royal haunting speaks of her being seen by two children playing hide-and-seek. One of the girls saw the apparition and chased it, believing it to be one of the maids, and was just reaching out to touch the dress when she turned round and I saw her face. It was very lovely. Her dress seemed to be made of black velvet. After looking at me for a moment, she went on and disappeared through the door leading to the winding stone staircase in the angled turret of the west tower. Swalesdale is haunted by a headless black dog at the humped-backed bridge near Ivelet, Ivelet, but it is Richmond Castle at the head of the dale which has the most interesting legend. In a secret stone chamber somewhere beneath the castle keep is said to lie a table on which there is a large sword and a hunting horn. Anyone finding these items and following the correct sequence of drawing the sword from its scabbard and blowing the horn can expect a shock, for these actions will rouse King Arthur and his knights, who are held here in the timeless subterranean enchantment. In the distant past, this chamber was discovered by Potter Thompson when he was searching for lost sheep. Foolishly, instead of using the sword and horn to rouse the knights, he was more interested in the fabulous treasure which lay scattered about, and as he reached out to grab some of it, a sonorous voice spoke. Peter Thompson, if thou hadst either drawn the sword or blown the horn, thou dost have been the luckiest man that ever yet was born. The voice so terrified the shepherd that he shot out of the cavern, which immediately closed behind him. Semawata can be an eerie and atmospheric place on the brightest of days, and it is probably this isolated, wild quality which has amplified and developed the strange tales surrounding it. One of writer Jessica Lofthouse's aunts recounted a story to her of a long night's lonely watch at Dales house in the vicinity, as she settled herself to a night of nursing an invalid, the aunt heard the sound of a horse galloping up to the hall, a rider dismounting and banging on the door. When the door was opened, there was no one to be seen, nor were there any hoof prints in the mud. A sunken village is supposed to lie beneath the surface of Semawata, drowned in a catastrophe brought about by the villagers' refusal to help an outsider. In some versions of the story, the outsider is an angel, in others a witch. In both cases, the visitor had travelled to the area to test the manners of the people there, who were legendary for their selfishness and greed. The visitor asked for sanctuary at the gates as night and bad weather drew in and was harshly refused, being driven from the town. He went instead to a small cottage on the hillside where a peasant family lived. Here he was invited in and treated with great hospitality despite the family's own lack of resources. He awoke the next morning and stood on the fell high above the town of Semawata, chanting the following spell. Semawata rise and Semawata sink, and drown all the town but one little house, where they gave me meat and drink. At this the water rose and engulfed the town, leaving only the cottage on the hillside. Over the years, people have claimed to hear the old church bells ringing under the water, and occasionally will report seeing buildings at the bottom of the lake. There was probably once a prehistoric village at the side of the lake, or on an artificial island here, which gave way to a folk memory and subsequent legend. The Carlow stones on the lakeside are alleged to be all that remains of the lost settlement, and they too have mystery attached, rumoured to be the site of the Druid altar thrown there by the devil from the top of Adelborough Hill during a contest of strength. The summit of Adelborough has stories of buried treasure secreted there by a giant who was carrying it between Skipton and Pendragon Castle further north. The treasure, a chest containing gold and jewels, is buried underneath a cairn of stone rays and guarded by a fairy watchman. A devil's stone or natural boulder, also on Adelborough's flat top, suggests that this hill, together with Pen Hill, may have been an old holy hill in times gone by. Buried treasures left by retreating Celtic tribesmen might also be found by the daring on the Swalesdale Hill of Hearts. Oh God, this is getting mad. There's so many northern words here. Sorry, hang on. Right. Buried treasure left by retreating Celtic tribesmen might also be found on the daring on the Swalesdale Hill of Hawkside. The legend and lure of this gold, the Celts were famous for their finely wrought gold jewellery, have led quite a few to seek it out. All attempts were doomed to failure, and Jessica Lofthouse sums up the perils of looking for treasure buried for religious reasons in this dramatic account of one futile expedition. Seekers with picks and spades worked hard, but the guardians, giant birds with flapping wings, beat them back, smashing their lanterns. One gang made 3 fruitless break-ins, the last attempt coinciding with thunderstorms and cloudbursts, as though all the underworld demons were against them. And that concludes that chapter. That was interesting. I found the healing water interesting. Oh, what will I understand? I've just put see Rob. No, Gillian, she will understand. Yeah, I'd be happy. I think going was Gillian, but you're here now. Tongue twister. Yeah, they were tongue twisters. Hi, Joe Mac. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments. How rude of me, just sitting there reading your comments. So the next part is York. And I think that got very tongue twisty in the end for me. But I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it made sense. Joe, nice to see you. I love reading the comments. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Yeah, I read the first one, read that one through, but the second one, like last week, I didn't read it. And it's the Old English as well. It's not just the Northern, it's the Old English words. And well, the spelling for the Old English words, isn't it? No, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Claire. Oh, Gillian's there. I can see Gillian now. I can see Gillian's comment. Hello, Gillian. I hope you're well. I'm going to have a drink. I hope you don't mind. And I'm going to have a puff on my vape. I hope everybody's well. I hope nobody's house is flooded. Claire showed some awful pictures earlier. Hi, Michelle. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Charles. Oh, thank you, Joe. Do you know, Joe, when we left East Grinstead and John and Lindsay very kindly allowed us to live with them until we sorted our housing out, we hardly brought anything with us. We didn't know what we were doing. But I did bring that lamp with me. Very few, you know, we bought clothes and we bought photographs and but we just thought, are we going to be storing stuff? So we came with precious little, but I did bring that lamp. I'm glad you like it. Thank you. I call it my witch's lamp. I fell asleep, Yo-Yo. My matchsticks. You want to get better matchsticks then, don't you, Gillian? And don't you worry. I'm glad you've rested. Claire, is it? Oh, I better read that out, hadn't I? Because of people on YouTube. Claire said the water is now at 29 meters depth. Light rain forecast. Hopefully it will. Oh dear. Scotty, hello, mate. Oh dear, that weather's getting bad, isn't it? Scotty, who's on YouTube for the people on Facebook, put pictures up of the flooding in Sheffield. I've got no idea it was getting that bad. And Claire showed some pictures of one of her neighbour's place and at the back of where she is, and pictures on the road. Hope you're well, Scotty. Yeah, it's a bit grim, isn't it? Hope you're well, Scotty. Sorry, I'm quiet. I'm just enjoying reading the comments. Come on, comment more. Where's Michelle gone? I've been it's getting worse, is it? It's like the news update. Scotty says it's been getting worse. River levels seem to be dropping now. Oh, good. It's not helping the floods. No. Don't type that fast. Michelle. Oh dear. Fingers don't type. Get to it. What's your favourite story so far? Do you know, J Mac, I think my favourite story has been the Healing Waters. You know that I mentioned it earlier, and I thought I might go back and check that out because I've been to Bath with the waters there, and in the area I lived, we weren't too far from a place called Tunbridge Wells, which used to be a spa town, and I'm intrigued by the Healing Waters. And of course, and there's Lourdes, isn't there, where the St Bernadette, there was a spring there, and there's supposed to be miracle cures. So I'm fascinated by that. But because I'm new to the area up here, it's all quite interesting, and I'd quite like to go through it again and actually go and see the stones that they're talking about, the rocks they're talking about. And they were talking about that now, was it Bartlett's night? Now I don't know if that tradition still carries on, but wouldn't that would be amazing, I think, to go instead of Guy Fawkes night to Bartlett's night. So what I need to do actually is to get a map of the region, and it's like they were talking about the people that see the lights coming and there is no car there, knowing I can't stand there and I'd get knocked down by a car. But those sort of things, yeah, I do like the Healing Waters idea. I'm always interested in healing. I find that fascinating because medicine now is so medicine is very modern, actually, isn't it? And it was we learnt so much. The royal society, man learnt so much from the First World War and then particularly the Second World War. And I watched an amazing documentary. And our medicine prior to that was quite frightening. So Healing Waters for people must have been amazing. Let me have a look at the comments again. Sorry. I tried to go to a Ruby wedding anniversary party, but to come back. Oh yeah, because of the storm. Not surprised. Yes, it's lovely being snuggled up, isn't it, when it's all stormy? Yeah, the history of Yorkshire is amazing, and it's like all the Saxons and the when the Vikings came in. Pick me up on your way. Yeah, Claire, it'd be fascinating, wouldn't it? Actually, yeah, that's true, Michelle. Water, a conductor of spirit activity. Be interesting to do an experiment to put water in a bottle, alleged healing water, and just water out of a tap. And if you'd got a skin condition, you'd have to have somebody with you. and to see if that skin condition cleared up. So would the placebo effect come in if you knew which water it was? But if you didn't know which one it was and your skin condition healed as a result of that water, unless you've got to apply the water in situ rather than bottle it and bring it back with you. That's a good point, Scotty. I wonder, Scotty says, I wonder if the faster, higher flowing water would bring more spirit energy with it. Yeah, that would make sense if it did. But I don't know if anybody's been to the baths. Well, they used to, where the Roman baths, weren't they? And they used to sit in there and what was the water? Was it the salts in it that they enjoyed? Were they into? I don't know if they considered I don't know what their thoughts were about it. Did they think it was spirits or spiritual or soul, or did they just think it was the miracle of the water itself? I really don't know. Placebo only works if you think you're getting the healing one. If you know it doesn't heal, then yeah, Scotty. But if you, for example, I went with Rob and I said to Rob, right, one of them I know and one blah blah blah, and I, let's say, gave him the one that was the tap water, but I told him it was a spring water. And yet on another, do you see what I mean? And then on the other occasion, the bottled water, which actually was the healing water, I was rubbing over him and that did heal his skin. I mean, he hasn't got a skin condition, so that doesn't make sense, but you get what I mean. Oh, that's nice, Michelle. Well, they have them at the holy water. I think you can get in the Catholic churches. I don't know if the Church of England has the holy water. But I mean, I'm fascinated by the placebo effect and healing. Oh, this is changing the subject, isn't it? Really? Sorry, Joe, when you asked that question. But I'm absolutely fascinated by the placebo effect. I was saying to Rob, it was very sad. I don't know if anyone saw it. It was maybe only 5 years ago. They did a documentary on the placebo effect, and they had a group of people in a theatre, and the pharmaceutical companies had just developed this amazing painkiller, and it was supposed to be the latest technology, and it was supposed to be fantastic. And as you all know, before they can market anything, they needed to trial it, and they had to do the placebo effect. And one of the gentlemen they focused on was an older man. I can't remember his age, but he looked, let's say, mid to late 80s, early 90s, and he was very, very debilitated in his walking. And all he wanted to do was to get back on his boat again. He hadn't been on a boat for ages. So taking these tablets, but he didn't know if he was on the dummies or on the genuine ones. Nobody did, obviously, because it was a trial. But we know, the audience knew, he wasn't on the genuine tablets. He was just on the sugar pill. And while he was trialing them, he started to get up and he started to walk, and he did actually get onto his boat. And at the end of the trial, they had to tell the people who were on the genuine tablets and who were on the sugar tablets. And this poor, it was heartbreaking. He burst out crying, and he said, people think I'm making it up. And he didn't get up again. And I felt so sorry for him. But he had actually still, I mean, he wasn't striding like an active, healthy person would, but he did get up and he did get on the boat, which was his dream. So I think with before our medicine came to be, as we're so fortunate to have it now, I'm fascinated by our forefathers and their healing and the placebo effect and the herbs, which of course most of our medicine has come from now. I can't see the comments. I've got my glasses on. I'm just talking to myself. You could probably yeah. Yeah, mine's a very powerful tool. It is. Oh, Michelle. Yeah, Lord's water. How fabulous. How lovely. I've always wanted to go to Lord's. I think there's another place. There's Walsingham, isn't there? I think that's around Norfolk way, but I don't know if it's water. I'm not sure about that. So what did you, Joe, you asked a question. You said which was mine. What about you? Yeah, Walsingham, Michelle. Have you ever been there? I'd like to go there. Oh, I suppose that's not too far now. Is it Norfolk? I think it's Norfolk. I'm not sure how far. I think John and Lindsay said it's about, what was it, 3 or 4 hours to Norfolk from where we are. So an overnight stay. Ah, Joe, you live in Norfolk. Oh, that's funny talking about Walsingham. I'm not sure where this is going. Yeah, I can understand that. So what's everybody else then? Joe, what was your favourite story? And other people in chat, what were your favourite stories? I mean, I know a lot of people are actually from around this neck of the woods, so maybe you've heard these stories before. I hadn't. I didn't know. I know Scott is local. Joe's just told me where she is. Michelle isn't too far away. Gillian's not too far away. Scotty, obviously. Claire. Have I just said Claire? It seems to me that there are far, even when I lived in the south, it seemed there were far more people from the north that were involved in the paranormal that were in from the south. Oh, you hadn't heard them, Lindsay? It was interesting when I was reading some of them and they were talking about all the local traditions or the people would do this, like the Bartlett guy. I wonder if that does still go on now. But you see, you've got people like me moving up that doesn't know these traditions and doesn't carry them on. Newbies walking in. Gillian, I've just seen that's the first chat I've seen you come up with for quite a while. You're on YouTube. You posted that comment. Facebook was awful with its comments the other day. I was saying hello to people and I came out and had to come back in and they had actually replied to me, but I couldn't see them. I have lived in GY for years, Great Yarmouth. In the yard, I found out there's an underground toilet on the main street and the church opposite had tunnels coming from the church. Wow. Oh, I'll read that for YouTube, Joe. So Joe Mack on Facebook is saying, I have lived in her area for years and only the other day I found out there was an underground toilet on the main street and the church opposite had tunnels coming from the church to the shops on Northgate Street. Ah, Lindsay's put it up for me. Wow. That's amazing. Oh, Charles. How lovely. Charles is from America, so they're all good for Charles. Whereabouts? I'm sure Lindsay knows Charles. Whereabouts in America are you from? That's amazing, Joe. When you wrote that about the underground thing, it reminded me of the Enid Blyton books. All the underground tunnels and things. Yes, Gillian, if you're typing, and I think you've only written a few comments, then maybe you do need to do what Lindsay says, do an update, because if you're typing, that's the first comment I've seen for a while. Texas, oh wow. Nice, Charles. Unimaginably nice for me. I've only ever seen it on the television. We have the famous Rows. What are they, Joe? You have the famous rows. What's that? A row of shops? A row of what? Excuse my ignorance. Oh, that would be amazing, Claire, doing a paranormal investigation in America. Yeah. Pictures of place and thought. Say. Yeah, that would be good, Lindsay, to put pictures up for people. I am saying that we tried to get to a Ruby wedding anniversary party this afternoon, but had to come back home because of the weather. Oh, Gillian, how awful. But it's best safe than sorry, isn't it, in this weather? I mean, particularly some of the pictures I've seen of the roads flooding, and the motorway was closed off for the floods as well, wasn't it? You probably did the right thing, sweetie, by not going, I would say. I mean, it hasn't stopped, has it? Rose Valley is where the fisher people used to take the fish through the rows to get straight to the market. Oh, wow. Rows of alleys. Jo is saying where she lives. There are rows of alleys where the fisher people used to take the fish through the rows to get straight to the market. Wow. That's amazing. That's definitely Enid Blyton in the what's it like the smugglers alleys and things. Yes, I think when you said that, Gillian, it had just disappeared off screen as I saw it. But that was the last thing I saw, and until your last comment, did I see the comments? Yeah. Are you coming up to join me, Lindsay? Grave robbers. Wow. Oh, who were the famous ones? Was that Burke and Hare? They were Scotland. Yeah.
Hey.
Hiya.
Very good, very good. Grave robbers.
Yeah, Joe Max was.
I have to send you the stories, Yo-Yo, in Messenger. Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah, it's bad all over, Gillian. Everybody's struggling at the minute. Everybody's stuck in. British history is very interesting. But you know, Charles, we think that American history, I think when it's in a country that you're not in, what you're not living in and you're not familiar in, I find the history is always interesting, don't you, Yo-Yo?
Very much so. I find it interesting. For example, Charles, I mean, Lindsay knows, but I lived in a place that wasn't too far from Hever Castle, and I went to school. It was a tiny little junior school. It only had 2 classrooms, and if you were 4 to, I think it was 7 or 8, you were in one class, and then 7 to 10, you were in the other class, and that was it. And we were allowed to play in the grounds of Hever Castle. But because I grew up with that, I didn't acknowledge it. And in your own area, I'm not too far from London, and people would ask me about that. I didn't go there. I would get in a car and drive to York, which is like 6 hours away, or I'd get in a car and go to the West Country for a holiday. It's a bizarre thing, but you don't really appreciate what's in your own area.
No, I do think.
Do you think, Lindsay? I mean, it's like when we came up to you, we were probably like kids in a sweet shop. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And to you, I mean, it's like when you took us to Chatsworth House, you'd played at Chatsworth House as a child.
Yep. Yeah, please, Joe. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. But what I am going to look at doing is, I don't know if you saw a comment, what I'm thinking of doing is actually visiting some of these places, maybe going and investigating some of them as well, and like doing his own little tour of Yorkshire.
Fascinating.
Maybe do some going daytime ones as well. It's not just going to be nighttime, but actually going daytime and have a look around them and see if we can, I don't know, just to experience the history part of it for ourselves, you know, and everybody else.
So Michelle's been to Chatsworth.
Into the right areas.
Well, Scotty said the same as you. Exactly. When you're a kid, they don't do it, do they?
Yeah. No,
as
I
you get
think the
older?
history that they teach in school is more standard history, or I don't know who chooses it. I don't know whether it's like a government curriculum that they've got to stand to. But if they want to get kids interested in history, they need to give them something with a bit of oomph in. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claire said the same thing when it's on your doorstep.
No, we don't at all.
But then it's probably like, you know, Charles has said he's from Texas. You know, I bet Charles it's for the same. Jenny. Hello, Jenny. I'm in US and Wisconsin and have travelled.
Really, Jen? You've not investigated in your
Wow.
own town? Wow. Well, you know
Yeah.
what you've got to do now, don't you? You've got to go investigating somewhere in your own town and find all your local history haunts, because you'll be astonished with how much. I mean, we were astonished with what were around us, you know. And Yolanda, Claire, Scotty, everybody else, that Carol, everybody that mods for us, they'll all tell you that it's like it's on his doorstep, but it's like we've never even been. You know, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Get in a
it's,
car and travel miles.
yeah. Tell you about the
But
history.
Charles, I get the idea in like Texas, to me, from an English person's point of view, it is so vast. What's your UFO thing situation there? You know, that must be amazing over there
Wow, Jen.
because of the space.
To be honest, on Indian land, I wouldn't investigate either. I don't think, just because of a respect level. I think, if you get my meaning. Charles says it's the same here. Joe's put, yeah, I think they should tell you about the history of the place you live. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it brings it to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, Joe, with potteries and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You see, Sheffield Steel, history in Sheffield Steel, you did like what? About half a day, and then that were it. It were done with. You didn't really go into the history of Sheffield Steel and what Sheffield stood for or any of it. It's I work with a lot of them. Oh, bless you, Jen. But yeah, 100% respect, isn't it, Jen, when you're doing this type of work. What did you say, Yo-Yo? Oh, UFOs. Another possible UFO has been sighted on Google Earth recently, says Claire.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm scared of UFOs. I'm scared to be taken. I'm scared to be abducted.
Petrifying.
I think they'd spit me out. I think they'd let me fall from sky if they ever abducted me. John's going to put a big sign on his roof saying, "Please take Linz." No, they take you first. You're more interesting than me. My brain's not interesting enough for an alien.
I would want to be probed by a ufologist lot, but by them. Oh no.
I'm being probed by nobody.
Be very scary.
But the sightings of the UFO, and Charles put earlier on in chat, they're going near Area 51, and they're going to be doing some investigating out that way. So that's going to be amazing. I mean, Charles, offer stands if you want to. When you do go on, you're more than welcome to come on and tell us about the experiences you've had, even if it's minimal, even if there's so much that you won't get it in one sitting. You know, you'll have to come on and join us and let us know.
That'd be brilliant. That would be brilliant.
Yes,
to get the American friends on, wouldn't it?
That is a no, hun. I understand. Gillian, I can't see what you've commented before. But guess that is a no, and I understand. I ain't got a clue, Gillian, what you're saying, my lovely. I don't know what you're referring to. You have to respect the Indians' belief and go slowly. 100%, Charles. But you know, there's so many people that don't respect anybody's cultures, you know, and when they're going into these places and they're investigating, it's no wonder that the attachments or different things happen. It's unbelievable. But yeah, it's respect.
Gillian, we missed a message again. Have you typed something that we can't see?
We've missed something because she's put "love you anyways, love." So I love you too, Gillian. And I know, Gillian, last thing in chat from you is about the wedding anniversary. Cheers, Scott. I can't see anything that she's put in. So I don't know whether she's thinking she's typing and then she's not sending it through.
Could be.
But there's definitely something missing, because guess that is a no, hun. I understand. I ain't got a clue, Gillian, what you're on about.
No, sorry, Gillian.
But yeah, I'm sorry your messages aren't coming up, Gillian. But unfortunately, it's something at your end, not our end, because I think you're only one that's having a bit of trouble. What I would do is when you're going to type your message, make sure you're pressing the send and not clicking off it before it's actually sent. Look for it on the screen. I'm sending love. I can see that one. You've put love you anyway, and I put love you too. But yeah, I can't see the reason why you've put it. I don't know. Going crazy. But yes, get back onto the UFOs. Doesn't help with Neil watching them on YouTube before bed. Wow, no. I watch about the UFOs. I'm interested in it, but it's just not part of the paranormal I think I'd want to go down just yet. I'm quite happy working on what I'm working on at the minute, not going down. But I am interested in the UFOs and the discussion. Charles has put, he's invested Indian burial grounds before, and it's very scary. Do you know, Charles?
Wow.
I bet it is. I bet the atmosphere while you're there, the energy. I mean, I know with burial grounds, you don't bleed and touch anything, do you? Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you're supposed to ask permission.
Yeah, that's true. Do
The
you
Indians
have to ask
before you
permission?
go in. I don't know, because we've not really got anything like that over here. I don't know what you'd have to do to. I don't know what would be the correct way to actually go into. I suppose in a way, I suppose it's like our cemeteries. Well, it's not actually, because it's completely different. So I do take that back. I do apologise if I've offended anybody. But again, like you say, it's the respect. Jenny's put one rabbit hole at a time. Exactly. Claire's fascinated with Claire's alien. Anyway, Claire's got that unique blood. And to me, it's alien. Yeah, yes, permission. I get amazing energy just sitting in my office at the casino. Oh, wow, Jenny. But don't you think they've spoilt a lot of land? What about you, Yo-Yo? You know, don't you think this?
You know what I wonder with you, if we understand technology more now, our generation, so we look at UFOs with an understanding of technology. But if you go back, I don't know, before aeroplanes were even thought of, so where should we go back to? 500, Henry VIII's time, 500 years ago. And even before that, let's go even back 1,000 years. If a UFO had come down then, what would they have perceived it to be? Would they have perceived it to be a ghost, a spirit?
Don't know, because
were the cave drawings, like Asimov has said, where they sort of like religious people always told us they were halos, but were they the outside where they've drawn the cave and they've got this image? Supposed to be, was it not a halo, but was it the space mask? Was it their helmet that was highlighted round the back? I mean, they didn't even have travel then, so what the hell would they have thought of that?
But yet they experienced it. They saw it with their own eyes. They saw these objects coming and flying. When
would they have thought they were godly creatures?
Aeroplanes weren't even about. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So just saying, I'd love to join you one night if you could put me up. At the moment, Gillian, I can't put anybody up. I've got the daughter and husband and grandkids living with us at the moment. But obviously,
I can put you up, Gillian.
Once they're sorted, Yo-Yo's offered. There you go. Yo-Yo could put you up, Gillian, for a night.
But if you're hoping to see John and Lindsay, you're probably better off waiting until John and Lindsay are free, because you'd come and stay with us and you wouldn't be seeing John and Lindsay. So you might think, why have I come?
We'll arrange it properly, won't we?
Yeah, exactly, Gillian.
Was here. Let me put this one up on. I'm trying to put them up from YouTube and Facebook so everybody can see. Well, before the casino was here, was just their land, so who knows what happened. I agree. There is
Jenny.
graphs that seem to show sky people. Definitely, Jenny. And they found it in caves, in I don't know whether it's in pyramids and stuff like that. But there's markings on wall that go back time's no essence to me. I don't even know how old I am, but they go way
But you
back.
know, the other thing I think's interesting is if you look at the cave drawings in, for example, France, how similar they are to, let's say, in the Americas,
Yeah.
where they've got the people and they've got this, what everyone calls a halo going over the top of their
Yeah.
head.
It fascinates me how our ancestors have so much knowledge and that could do things that we are unable to do today without technology. Totally agree.
Exactly,
Totally
Claire.
agree. I think that they would have perceived them of gods, Yolanda.
I do, Claire. I absolutely do. I
Yeah.
really do. And I think that's when religious people came down and called them halos. I think they were probably, yes, Jenny, in the pyramids as well, exactly. And yet there was no transport back then as we know it, and yet they were all drawing such similar things.
Yeah. So there's definitely a connection somewhere. Whether we'll ever I think it's like, because it is the paranormal, it is the unexplained. I think it will always be the unexplained. I think it's going to be. I think again it comes back to his own belief systems, doesn't it? And what we believe. But there's definitely there's definitely a connection.
Do you think, and this is open question to everybody, this is something I've always wanted to know. When we die, do you think we will know the answer to this? Do you think we'll find out?
I think we already know the answers, but I don't think it's information that we can bring forward. I think sometimes some people can have it slip. You know, like when you get these children, the halos with strong auras, I think. Afternoon, Deanna, good evening.
Hello, Deanna.
I forgot what we were going to say then. So that
they
question,
could be, Deanna. They could be. They could
so
have
that
been.
question again to me, Yo-Yo.
Well, I'm just wondering, when we die, will we find out the answer?
I think when we die, if you believe in reincarnation, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we have walked this earth many times before, lessons learned and all this jargon that goes in with it. Not everybody believes that. And you know what? It's everybody's own.
Yeah.
It's what brings you peace, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I believe that, we knew all about this. And I believe, in a way, I think we've made connections. But because of how it's still never, that openness is still not talked about it's like we have to forget. Do you know what I mean? So I believe that on different planes, maybe different whatever, there is that connection coming in. I hope to see the Skinwalker Ranch. I've seen so many programs on that, Charles. I absolutely love it. No worries, Deanna. Your finished story, so we're just having a little chit chat. But you're never late. You're never late at party. Never, Deanna. But yeah, I think we do. I think we have that knowledge, Yo-Yo. And I think, as kids, when we come back, his imaginations are that great that you wonder where that imaginations come from. And I'm wondering whether it's like you said, it's what we've already known and found out, but it's like you have to start from beginning again. It's like that. I don't know if everybody knows what I mean.
I really hope so. Do you know, I'm gonna get the right hump. It's like I'm changing the subject completely now.
No.
But there's so much conspiracy about the death of Princess Diana. When I die, I want to know what's gone on. I'm really hoping that I get to the end of the chapter. All these mysteries, even not just supernatural mysteries, but even every day.
Michelle knows what I mean. Gillian knows what I mean. Thank you, ladies. But again, while you're inquisitive about that now because you live in, but when you cross over, is that going to be something that you're still going to be inquisitive about?
Probably.
Is it is it that that's the human part of us? The human part, or is it the energy part of us that keeps us that inquisitive? I'm back. Had to make a big mug of coffee. My mum hasn't told me yet. Oh, bless you, Diana. I think we become, that's it, Claire's going to put it in better ways than I can speak. I think we've become docile as a race, and that modern living and technology and chemicals, etc., have closed off our senses and connection. 100% agree.
Totally agree, Claire.
100%. Who else agrees with what Claire's put in chat? Don't matter if you don't. There's no right. The thing is, what's a good thing when we're talking like this, and when we come on, we have these like these topics and discussions and stuff. What's good is, even if you don't agree or you've got a different way of thinking, it's fine to voice it. Nobody's going to jump on you and say, "Oh no, you should believe in this." You should, because that's the good thing about being a part of us, being a part of ETA, because there is none of that. We all respect each other's beliefs and religions. Why aren't getting my messages? I'm writing them too long. Why you aren't getting my messages? It could be, Gillian, but I don't see how, because I did a right long one earlier and it just split it into two. Michelle agrees with Claire.
Gillian, the thing is, as long as you know, we aren't ignoring you. If we see your message, babes, we'll acknowledge you. So if we don't acknowledge you, it means we ain't seen your message, love.
Yeah.
We're not because we're ignoring you.
That's the best way to put it.
I always had an NDE.
What's an NDE? Near-death experience. Yeah. Sorry, Charles. Took me a minute then for it to register in the slow brain I've got. Charles, you're definitely going to have to come on, you know. You're definitely going to have to come on and
Charles,
join
if you could talk about that'd be lovely if you would join John and Lindsay.
Yeah. If ever you're up for coming on, we can work out the time slot difference, so we can work it out that either it's done at a time that is best for you. But you'll have to come on, Charles, if you're up for it, like I say, and come and tell us. I will see if there's anything on the way. Yeah, please do, Joe.
That'd be brilliant. I can understand your, what do you say? You've got a huge part. It used to be the workhouse. I hate it. Yeah, I think the atmosphere of those places is.
Yeah. Totally. Deanna, I had a near-death experience 11 days ago. Wow, Deanna. And I'm just waffling on too much. So it's number 8 for me. That's the 8th time, Deanna. 8th time that you've had a near-death experience. Wow.
Blimey.
Do you know, there's so many people that I think come in chat and have had these kind of experiences, but because I'm learning that stuff, our brilliant Charles. Well, when you're ready, Doug. There's so many people in chat, like Charles has just put, is learning how to talk about it, that don't want to come forward with experiences because people, the like support network, has either like shrugged it off, you know, or people make a standing joke of it because they don't understand it. Or, to be honest, I think a lot of people make a joke of things because they don't understand it, and I think they're fearful, and the only way they can comprehend any of it is by turning it into something funny. Because if they actually sat down and thought about the things that happen, what happens to them in their life, the near mishaps where, you know, that a guardian angel or somebody's just come in and just stopped something from happening, I think that way then they'd be more open. But people are too easy to, it's like my mom shuts down as soon as you mention the paranormal or messages coming through from loved ones or anything. My mom is a closed book. No. But yeah, she's had experiences, but she just shuts down from it because it's something, and she'll laugh at it. She'll say, "Oh, you're going out ghost hunting again," and laugh. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, yeah. Do you know? And because they fear it, they have to make a joke of it. And I find that's true with a lot of things in life that people do. Humor, they use humor to hide the fear. If that
I had a member of my family, I'm not going to say because we're on social media, but a member of my family teases me because of my belief system. Yeah. Now, my belief system is believing what you want. My personal belief is I believe the spirit goes on, and that there is an afterlife. That's my belief. But he teases me for that, and he calls it all bunkum, and he thinks when you're dead, and there is no God, and da 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 da. However, that person had a loved one die, obviously related to me as well, because it was a relative, but he was closer to that person, and he was grieving, and he spoke to a highly educated friend. And that highly educated friend believed in life after death.
Mm.
And he was absolutely entranced
Changed his
by
outlook.
everything they were
Changed
saying.
his outlook on
And
it.
I said to him, do you know how insulting you've just been? And it seemed to me that because this person was very highbrow and highly educated, their opinion was valid over
Do you know,
somebody like
it's
me who
very
isn't highly
strange. It's very
educated.
strange how, somebody's opinion is valid, is more validated than somebody with a higher education or a higher IQ, what people look up to respect. They're more believable than somebody that's not. But again, it's life.
Fascinating. I mean, it was quite extraordinary, and I mean, nothing's offended me in my life, but I just found the whole thing was, wow, I didn't know belief system had anything to do with intellect. Nothing whatsoever in my world. It's got nothing to do with it.
But
So
for some it does. For some it does. Claire's put, when she went to Mexico, she visited the Mayan calendar. It blows my mind how the Mayans knew of such things. I definitely think that aliens have visited our ancestors. I think they've mated with our ancestors, Claire. I'd go as far as saying that I do believe that if they've been visiting Earth for as long as what time has, you're not telling me they've not formed bonds or learned to mimic our appearances with the technology that they're so advanced in their technology. These the aliens that are coming, they're zomping all our universe. Do you know what I mean? You don't even know if they can time travel. So to me, do I think that I do. I'm one of them. I'm like, they've and I think that's where, like Claire's got, the rare blood comes from, and things like that. I do think that somewhere along the line there is a connection. Again, whether it comes out, whether conspiracy theories come out, you don't. There's just. But I think the government enjoy the conspiracy theories because it puts everybody off what the real thing is, because I think some conspiracy theories actually do touch on the truth, but because the government ridicules them for doing it, it puts doubt in people's mind and makes these other people look like loons, and the government know what they're talking about.
I think Men in Black did a brilliant job of that.
Yeah. My adopted mum left me in the slim pool to go talk to the phone. When I came back, I was upside down. Wow. God, Deanna, that was very young.
Wow.
I bet it is hard to explain, Charles. I bet it's not an easy thing to explain. I think the only way you can explain it is exactly what you felt and at that moment. I don't know whether writing it down might be easier, or like recording yourself talking about your experience and looking at how it sounds. Well, not how it sounds, but how it fits in. I think that would be one way of trying to do it. Scotty's put, you believe in that from people who have had experiences. Scotty, I don't know what that one's what question that's come back for. Like George Norrie's thinks. George Norrie, Gillian sent me something on this blog today, and I was looking at him, and a lot, when you look back, again, it's one of these, when you look back and you look at other people's opinions and stories and how they were, when he first started, apparently, this George Norrie, because he investigates all the paranormal sides of things and all the unexplained and aliens and everything, and when he first started, apparently he was bloody fantastic to listen to. But now he seems to have gone more one-sided, and a lot of people are saying really bad things about him. People that have followed him for years think he's just gone too far over. Whether that's true or not, because I've not been able to see the videos that he's done. He is on YouTube, but he doesn't actually. You've got to pay. You go through Amazon Prime, but then you've got to pay and subscribe to something else before you can watch stuff. So I'm
I haven't heard of
not doing it, but yeah, it's quite interesting. But yeah, so but no, I think I just think it's absolute. I just think it's all fascinating. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Just there's so much history and there's so many different interpretations of the same thing and how we all perceive that to be. And when nobody knows, for people to insult what your belief is, and I just think, what a waste of time, because none of us know. It's like your belief in what do you call it, reincarnation.
Yeah.
And my fear of reincarnation is so great, I don't even want to believe in it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't want to believe in it because I don't like it.
But again, is it the fear that takes over? Is it the unknown that takes over? Or is it just... What is it, Yo-Yo? Can you explain?
I don't want to come back. I mean, if we're heading
The
forward...
fear of coming back, yeah.
Fabulous, coming back. I mean, I remember time before social media, and I remember times of freedom of speech, and I remember
definitely
where there was life was more sociable before social media, where you talk to neighbours. Now most people are sitting on social media, expressing their opinions, and you can't discuss it with them properly because they're going to be keyboard warriors. And you know, I look at the drama that goes on social media in all different communities. It's not just paranormal.
No, it's not. It's in every community
everywhere. And I think, oh wow, you know, like 20 years ago that wouldn't have happened. But whatever, I just think if this is happening now, I wonder what it will be like. How will it become? And I don't like the idea of the future, so no, I don't want to. There's nothing to do with it.
Really enjoyed the reading, Yo-Yo.
Charles, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Get some more. But yeah, Claire, totally agree. The power of social media is making it easy for people to express their opinions and theories and make them more accessible, though. Conspiracy theories are getting harder to shut down and more people are talking, definitely. There was a group of tall white aliens who lived in Paradise. Is that California? California. They were going to come out. They sold stuff at the farmers market there. That's why they had that big fire there. No, it was an energy weapon used. Trees didn't burn, just houses and cars. Interesting, Deanna. I'll have a look at that and see if I can find any info. I was located an hour or so from mine. Really?
Wow.
I'm going to Paradise here. Is that where is it called the tall white aliens?
There's a group of tall white aliens, Paradise, California.
Hang on, tall white aliens. I'll spell it. I spell it. California.
Yeah.
What were it?
Paradise. Who lived in Paradise, California?
So tall white aliens, California, Paradise. That's what I've put. The truth will come out. It definitely. But you know, Gillian believes in reincarnation.
Yeah, I think lots of people do.
The truth will out.
I think, especially in our community, there's a lot of people that I'm listening to. I think I'm in the minority.
But you know, again, the truth. We've been saying this for years over certain things. Truth will come out, and again, you can look back to other conspiracy theories, like when it goes back to JFK being shot. The man that shot him weren't the man that shot him, and the gunshot come from a different way. These are all conspiracy theories, whether they're right or wrong. We will never get to. I don't think the truth because I think once the truth comes out. The governments, the presidents, the prime ministers, the whatever they are, the government, it's going to be a big backlash on them because it's going to mean that they've lied. We know that they lied to us, but to actually have it come out, how the people would turn, it just, I think it would change the way we live. Do you know?
I do think, though, I mean, I don't want to upset anybody. I would never, ever
No.
try to offend anybody. And I know it's just a small group of us, so I hope I don't offend anybody. But, you know, I've got a theory. If I look back in history, it seems that the aristocracy, the powers that be, controlled us by religion. You know, where everybody was going to church
There's a
every
lot
Sunday.
of people, Yo-Yo, that believe, that have that similar belief, though, you know?
And if, you know, I'm not saying that if you go to church now you're being controlled. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying back then where you really didn't get a choice and
Do you
you
know,
had to. Whereas now we've moved on and we aren't as religious. We aren't going to church every Sunday. We've all developed our own minds. It's as if
because,
the
again,
government are controlling us by other means, however
well,
the other
do
means
you know,
are.
I think it's, yeah, I totally agree. Hang on, I'm going to come back to that. I'm open-minded about reincarnation, and near-death experience is similar to reincarnation, yeah. How do you think they come up with the Star Trek stuff and different kinds of aliens so we wouldn't freak out and accept it? Going back to what Yo-Yo's just said, oh, bloody hell, Yo-Yo, my brain, refresh.
Hang on a minute. I'm just seeing Charles's comment. An NDE is similar to reincarnation, which has knocked me bandy. Wow. We were talking about, and then Deanna's put, why do you think they come up with the Star Trek stuff with the different kinds of,
so we wouldn't freak out and accept it.
Yeah. I just sort of like think it's control, Lindsay, and
yeah. So going back,
you know, whether he's like endorsing what you said with the conspiracies.
We go back and look at the control, right? So go back, say, 100 years. The control, the government's instilled on our parents. But if you look at our parents and their parents and go back down the generations, you look what they were like, what they were told would happen if they were bad. If they were bad, they were going to go to hell. So if they did such and such, this were going to happen. If they did such and such, tooth fairy's not going to come. For us, it were be naughty, tooth fairy's not coming. Father Christmas is not going to come. There's always something that they try to control you with. But I think as the generations have come down, because like you said, people's mindsets have sort of like rebelled. We're rebelling against it all. And these threats now don't mean anything because we've got internet, we've got social media, we've got all these different outlets we can go to and actually look up the actual history. When it started, I do think religion is a way of control. I totally agree with you. But again, it doesn't control people as much now in certain religions. It doesn't control them as much now. In fact, in all religions, it's not just certain. I think in all religions, it doesn't control them now because we're not seeing it. We're seeing it every day. We're seeing the bigger picture.
I don't beat my neighbour up with a stick because they don't go to church on Sunday, or they don't beat me up because I won't go to church. Nobody.
Joe Mack believes aliens already walk amongst us. As much as I would love to know the answers to everything paranormal and unexplainable, in a way I'm glad that I don't, because I enjoy trying to find out the answers and making my own conclusions. The universe is full of secrets and I love the wonders. Couldn't have said it better. Claire. Joe Mike, also time travel and premonitions, definitely. Whether we can time travel or there's somebody out there that can definitely time travel. We are brainwashed, and when you have a spiritual awakening, you see clear. I am. Do you think, though, Michelle, you say when you've had a spiritual awakening, as a spirit, because I say spiritual and it could mean religious. So are you talking about the like spiritual awakening of not so much as a God, the divine, like the divine spirit, with the balancing of the chakras, with that kind of spirituality, where you're going more back to sort of like the pagan type, where nobody were bothered. Do you know what I mean? Is that what you're meaning, Michelle? That why you see it clearer? Because I feel that way. If that's what you're meaning, I feel more like you said. The more I've opened up on a spiritual level, the more I'm seeing the bigger picture, not religious. Yeah, spiritual. Thank you, Michelle. It seems to, do you know, Gillian, I think it goes back way before pyramids, you know. A lot of people, I don't know, Yo-Yo, I don't know if you've ever looked further than before pyramids on what they found. There were so many things found before the pyramids were found. It's just the pyramids are brought to everybody's attention. It's like certain things certain things that have happened over history. So much gets promoted. So like the pyramids are the biggest thing. So the aliens come to help and build pyramids. But what about the stuff that happened pre-pyramid? Where's the explanation for stuff that happened pre-pyramid? Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think it goes back way before pyramids. I think it'll go back years and years and years before.
It's going to be interesting how society in 200, 300, 400, I don't know, whatever, looks back and perceives something that we would know. And if we were here, we would be able to say to them, no, that wasn't an archaeological site. It was a rubbish tip. We threw all our plastics in there. That stuff's plastic. Yeah. Would they perceive that to be something? What is this product? What is this substance? I mean, I guess it's a bit different because we've logged more history with social media, with typing, with writing.
This is it now. This is where they've sort of like lost that control of the brainwashing. It's like Claire said, the brainwashing started at school. We believe everything that we're taught without ever questioning it. They're all puppets on a string, in my opinion. But again, Claire, if you look at your generation on how you've brought your son up, you've not brainwashed him. Do you know what I mean? Because again, you've been opened up to, I'm going to say we've been opened up to a world web, where people now from different cultures and different religions, different lifestyles, just everything different. We're like communicating with each other, where before you didn't have that. If you were one faith and I were another, there'd be no communication. But through like social media and these, and obviously times changing, but times have changed because of all the 24-hour news we've got going on. People now see it in a different light, and people don't turn their back on somebody just because it's a different race or religion. Do you know what I mean? And it's to me, I think social media's helped that. I think the information that we've got at our fingertips, Uncle Google, and do you know what I mean?
I certainly don't think the internet has helped the government maybe control us as much as they'd like, but I think we're now interfering in different ways, infiltrating it. They're trying to manipulate.
Too many people out there now that have got a voice. That, all right, you might not have got a voice when it comes to the government itself, but you've definitely got a voice online, and you can definitely get people. But again, is that going to start turning into different cults again? So there's that fine line on what turning into a kind of cult kind of thing to doing. I'll explain on Thursday. No worries, my beautiful lady. You have to let children be children, listen to them. You can learn a lot. I've asked my great nieces and nephews under the age of 5 what heaven's like, and they have all said different things. Interesting, Joe. So many questions and so many unanswered questions, but I can't understand why the Mason's eye symbol was used back then. The eye symbol represents the third eye. It represents a spiritual thing. I'm not sure whether that's what the Mason's eye symbol means, because I'm not, but normally the eye symbol is to do with spirituality. It's an Egyptian hieroglyphic. That's what that one is, the Egyptian hieroglyph. So that could possibly, the Masons could go back as far as the pyramids, whether they were Masons before that, but there was called something completely different to Masons. A
lot of people believe Knights Templar.
What Masons
become. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Because the Knights Templar.
The Masons are what the Knights Templar be. No,
Knights Templar were before Masons. Yeah. They like disbanded, didn't they? The Knights Templar, and then the Masons took over. So that's what I'm saying. If it goes back, Masons like come back, like said to for the hieroglyphics and that, they're linking themselves back to pyramids. But then before Masons, you've got the others. So that's how it just. Do you know what I mean? It goes back further than what any of us will ever know. And because we've only got history going back so far on paper, and then you've got snippets of things prior to that, but because it gets it all gets mingled up. You've got that many different stories coming off it, so you'll never know.
I also think when you only get half a story, that leads open to speculation there.
Chinese whispers.
Chinese
whispers at its best. It's amazing now and will get better. I think it will, Charles. I definitely think it will. Claire says she was raised Catholic, never had my son baptized. I wanted his faith to be his choice. He's an atheist, and that's fine. He's his own person with his own mind. Exactly. And don't you think our parenting skills now have changed from our parents' parenting skills?
Definitely.
Do you know? But they were feared. My mom and my dad's upbringing, they would have been feared by something, you know. They would have, I don't think it were a religious thing. They'd probably be feared by slipper more than anything. But there would have been things put in place that my mum's mum and dad would have had installed in them, that fear. And it passes down. But because we've become more rebellious in time, and like you said, because different cultures have been mixing, different things have been happening, it's impacted on that different level. My son has spoken to Spirit, my late granddad, who died a year before he was born. At the age of 4, the conversation with him, sitting on the bed, never stopped. And he's 27. That's really interesting, Joe. My kids did that with my dad, but didn't continue it on. Whether they could have, I don't know, but they stopped at a young age. But yeah, so right then, Yo-Yo, we've been live 2 hours. You did an hour and you did about an hour and 5 on your reading. And then we've been chatting ever since.
It's been lovely people joining us. I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
But no, I want to say thank you, Yo-Yo, for coming on. And,
you're welcome.
The history, the stories, like I said, we need to look more into them. And for those that do watch us that aren't in UK, we need to try and find pictures as well. You know, like try and get pictures of the places that that you're talking about, so we can show pictures and
where Deanna and Charles were talking about, and the Indian burial sites, amazing.
Yeah, definitely. See, that's it. We need to get pictures of them as well. Maybe Charles and Deanna could send us pictures, because obviously what we find online will be totally different to the history they know. Do you know, they'll know more in depth or more places that are more of a religious place, a better place. So yeah, but definitely. We'll definitely have to do that and put some posts up with pictures and little bits of history relating back to it. Wow, she stayed awake, Michelle. We've kept her awake. We've not bored you and fell to sleep. There's good and bad in everything to do with life and religion, but at the end of the day, it should be what you believe and no one else. All our lives.
Exactly, Joe.
Exactly. Really enjoyed this evening. Thank you so much. Claire, you're going to have to join us. What I might have to do is next time Yo-Yo does readings, I'll send you a link and you can join us and stop in background with me while Yo-Yo does a thing, and then all 3. I know tonight you're in bed, so I've not sent you a link. But yeah, it'd be great to have
Julian says, have you watched Oak Island? They go on about the Knights Templar. I haven't watched it.
I think we have, Julian. I think did you start watching it?
I started watching it, but you weren't interested in it.
Yeah, John started watching it, but it didn't actually get my interest. But I might give it again and give it a go and have a look through, because again, when I was watching that, my interest levels were different. Thank you so much, Yo-Yo. Thoroughly enjoyed tonight. Was brilliant, says Michelle. Okay, we'll go out tomorrow and take. Oh, cheers, Deanna. Night all, been good to listen in. Oh, cheers, Scotty. No, you haven't bored me at all. I just sleep a lot. That's me. Definitely love tonight.
Well, at the end of the day, guys, we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation without your contribution in the comments.
Exactly.
It's just been fabulous. And do you know, I know a lot of people want to have thousands of subs. We wouldn't have had a night like this if it had been thousands of subs. We'd have missed half the comments. I think it's been a really intimate chat. I've loved it.
The intimate chats are so nice. It really is when you can have that conversation. And Charles,
I just hope nobody feels left out. I hope nobody, like Julian said, didn't see a comment. I just hope there isn't somebody that
Dan Brown's books really got me thinking. Exactly. I read them, Claire, and it's definitely an eye-opener. Gillian, what I'm going to do is one night, so because I'm sure that there's not just you that wants to pop on and have a chat. I think that there'll be quite a few of you in chat that would like to come on and pop on and chat with us. So what I'll do one night is when we're live, I will put the link in chat, and then what we'll do is we'll let people pop on and chat for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll bring next person on and do it like that.
Brilliant.
So everybody gets
We
that.
can meet one another, can't we?
Yeah.
Charles
again,
says, I will film Area 51.
I know.
Charles, wow.
What are you going to put that in chat? Like FBI saying it.
FBI's good for you, Charles. Get it out, chat. Don't forget, you can set a reminder when the notification for the event is put up. You can, Joe. Thank you for saying that. So I'll put that on screen because I set it up through StreamYards, and I'll set them up earlier on in the day. You can set it for a notification. I'm not sure whether your phone pings or you have to be on Facebook or YouTube for the notification to come up, but you will get notified if you click to be notified. Thank you, Joe, for that, my lovely. I love these kind of chats, Deanna. I think they're absolutely amazing. But yes, so right, you stay where you are, missus. You say your good nights.
Thank you, everyone. It's been lovely getting to know you all. And thank you ever so much for joining in the chat. I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed it too. And thank you for everyone for joining in.
You're doing it again. Don't sound like that you're not coming on again. You're coming on again.
I don't talk as posh as what you do. Oh, Gillian, no. When I'm reading,
she puts it on.
Put it on. That's my business voice. You should hear me talk normally. Oi, Rob, settle on.
Trust me, she keeps a business head on. But yeah, so it's good night from me. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
And we shall see you live tomorrow. Members into Monday members. So tomorrow we'll be live on members. I think I'm going on in the afternoon to continue some of the reading on the book, and John's going to be live later on. He's going to sort out what he's going to be doing on members. So love and light to everybody. Blessing be, and catch you all soon. Love you loads, guys.
Have a lovely day, America.
Bye.